Everybody in this room has a backstory, a set of experiences, some positive, some painful, that lead and shape us into who we are today. Your backstory is the reason you see the world the way that you do. Your backstory is the reason you lead, teach, and serve the way that you do. But if backstory is one side of the coin, then purpose is the other.
So we first met Ron in the spring of 2024. We had, as a district, been working on our social skill development program. It was a 2-year commitment on the district's part, district-wide staff working on identifying skills, 8 skills that we were going to basically teach and develop our students with. One of our administrators had worked with Ron in a previous capacity and introduced me to Ron. We had a remote session, we had a meeting, and I would say right from that first meeting, I was convinced that it was the right direction for us to go as a district working with now Team Choices.
Our students love working with Team Choices. It's exciting for them. The kids get excited about the message. It's a lot of fun. We always leave the assembly and are able to have good conversations with our students because it's more likely they're going to be motivated to try some of the strategies we talk about.
I think these lessons will help me when I get out of high school because it'll help me pick who I want to be surrounded by and stand up for myself.
It's also important to us as a school-wide positive behavior school that Ron's team works in our specific RAMS philosophies.
So when you look at the entirety of a school district, you have a lot of components. You have parents, you have staff, you have students. And typically when you approach, we'll call it professional development, you're targeting staff, right? You're providing experiences, exposures, opportunities for them to learn something new, take it back to a classroom and implement. The approach that I think we've taken in working with Ron and his team, I would say built a program starting with last school year, carrying forward into this school year, where not only are we working with staff, developing staff, but we're also working with students. And I think we've expanded that into our elementary programs, not just focusing on our middle school students.
After being in assemblies with Team Choices, I will sit and think about why am I having a bad day, and then I will try to figure out who had made my day bad and whether they need to be pushed out of my life or not.
I would say the difference in the students after the Choices programs would be that they are more aware of how their words affect other people and how the choices they make can impact others. I have seen personally kids come back and apologize to other kids about how they behaved at recess or during a class or during lunch. It makes them very self-aware. And for the group of kids that I teach at 3rd grade, that's very impressive that those kids can have that much self-awareness in 3rd grade.
And they're more confident. They are more sure of themselves and more positive. They believe in what they can do. Because a lot of the kids that see you don't believe that they have it in them to be amazing. But they do have it in them to be amazing, and they come back from your meetings every month with that belief, and you see that throughout the day. You see that throughout the week after they see you. And then as the month goes on, they might kind of slack off a little bit in their confidence again, and then they see you again, and then they're right back into it. They're right back into feeling that they can do it. They can do anything, but that they can be amazing.
One thing that really stuck with me during the assembly is that they were very real. Like, they were all one-on-one, and they would come up to you and talk to you personally. And it really impacted a lot of students because, they probably were going through that at one point in their life.
I believe the kind of work that Ron's team Choices does in our schools is needed today because our students are coming from a much more diverse background than they ever have before, whether that's culturally or how they have been brought up. The expectations of our students from home, it's much different today than it was, not that long ago. Our students certainly have many different strengths and obstacles in their lives than what there was, a short time ago, which has created the need for us to have more programs that consider the perspective of the students.
This program has helped me in times of conflict by advocating for myself and others when they're in tough situations.
I believe this kind of work is needed in today's schools because they face so many challenges, and hence the name Choices. The choices they make are going to make or break their future. So giving them every tool possible to help them make good decisions, I think, is imperative in today's educational realm.
See, your backstory may have led you into education, but it's your purpose that keeps you here. Your purpose isn't about your past. It's about your future and the legacy that you're gonna leave behind to become some child's backstory. That's the reason why some of us came up here today and we graduated from this district and we're back here in this district and we're serving this district.
I think if I were to describe the difference in the school now versus prior to working with Teen Choices, I would say that I think it's given the staff the opportunity to be a bit more reflective in terms of their own sense of self in the classroom. It's enabled them to also, I believe, be a bit more confident in terms of collaborating with their colleagues and communicating with them as well.
I love the Team Choices, the whole vibe, and I'm a very positive person naturally. In 7th grade, you have a lot of things that come at you every day. And I feel like this year I started maybe a little grumpy for myself. I'm not really sure why. I just don't feel like myself yet. And I feel like today, especially the positivity and reminding us how to be in the class reminded me about who I am. And it's kind of rejuvenated me to remember, hey, this is who I am, and I need to get back to that and just focus on that.
The most meaningful takeaway for me personally in today's professional development was definitely thinking a little bit more about my own conflict management style. I had no question at all before we took the quiz that I was going to be a shark because I love to argue my way into being right. And seeing how much higher that number was than the others really made me reflect a lot about how I probably would benefit from being a little more collaborative and cooperative with other people.
The way that I see that this particular program benefits not only the students but teachers and families is it really gives the capacity for each one of those groups to do some self-reflection. Sometimes, especially with teachers, we can get ourselves into a frame of thinking where our thoughts are kind of gauged around, well, I know what I'm doing and I know how I'm doing it and I'm not going to change. Why reinvent the wheel? And yet sometimes you've got to take the time to kind of look at your wheel and decide whether or not it needs some adjustments.
My most meaningful takeaway from this professional development was two things really. Something about myself as an educator, how much I've grown over the past 4 years. I'm still young in the profession, but looking at myself as a young adult at ages like 18, 19, how I was very passive when it comes to things, and I let other people kind of push me around. I didn't make choices myself, and really just wanted to people please everybody. And now, my 4th year of education, being older at 26, I've realized how much I've changed. I'm more of a person that takes charge now. I still listen to people, I like to work with them, but I don't let people say things to me or other people that's not right. I stand up for them and myself. So that's something that I've grown on. And another personal takeaway would be that meeting kids where they are when they come in the room, or the issues they're having. If the kid's having a bad day, if something happened at home, we don't know what happened behind those closed doors when they're not in school. So being understanding of what could have possibly happened to those kids and not just making them feel unheard or their feelings not what they should be feeling at the moment. It's really, really important that those kids feel heard and understood. So meeting them where they are when they come in the room, I feel is super, super important, and just making them feel understood.
You've got to provide opportunities not just for staff growth, but for student growth. And where opportunity presents, you bring parents into that equation. And I think anytime you're touching students with information, with content, with experiences, you're touching parents. That goes home. That goes home to families. So I think in the work we're doing together as a district and as now Team's Choices, we're doing all of those things. Not only are we influencing staff, we're benefiting students, meeting students where they are, and having that reciprocal effect at home.
As the students come home and they communicate their experiences with their family, I think it can help sometimes the family themselves, which was one of the things I was picking up on in the class, this activity that we did today. I work right now with a foster in my home. And my thought was looking at it not so much as the teacher, but as the foster parent, trying to see how can I work with this child and help them to have a better capacity of regulating their own emotional state. And it really made me recognize, not just with the foster child, but then back into my classroom, that if I recognize that I need my own emotional regulation and I need to take that step back inside myself and say, all right, let me really listen and then restate what I thought I heard to verify that my thinking is on the right track.
If another teacher asked me why this program matters, I would tell them that it has been really incredible watching our students and our staff build relationships, not only with the members of the team, but also with one another. Last year in particular, the folks from my school came back after having experienced the flood, and it was the first time we had done a circle. I can't express to you how meaningful that was for all of us, but to get to hear everybody's stories and the understanding that we gained from that was enormous. And knowing that our students are also doing that and gaining understanding and building relationships with one another, and learning that it's okay to share what you're feeling and what you're thinking about those kinds of things has meant a lot to us.
You know, we had a catastrophic flood impact one of our communities, and the program that Ron and his team brought to Northern Tioga School District was tailored to that event, recognizing we were fresh off that event 2 weeks out from it, and Ron and his team met our staff where they were in that moment following that experience. You know, over the years, we've had a lot of speakers come in, present on the first day of in-service. They come, they present a nice program, and they leave. But with now Team's Choices, it is a personalized approach, and I think that's important.